In this tutorial, we are going to switch to use Flask Nav to create our navigation bar. If you remember, in base.html, we typed all of this HTML to create our navigation bar. And instead, we are going to use the Flask Nav extension so that we can create our navigation bar in Python in flaskapp.py, and then the HTML will automatically be generated for us. So to do that, because Flask Nav is not installed by default on pythonanywhere.com, I'm first going to go to a bash console, and I'm going to use pip 3.6 to install new packages for Python 3.6, which is the version we're using for this web app. If you forget, you can always go to the web app tab and take a look at your Python version. Here it is right here, 3.6. I'm just going to type this exact thing, Python, pip 3.6 install -- user, and then the extension you want to install. So Flask Nav. It says that I've already done it. Next, we're going to go into Flask app and start using it. So I'm going to add some imports here, and I'm going to import from Flask Nav, and I'm going to import nav, and that's going to be used to initialize everything in this nav extension. And I'm going to also import from the elements. This is how I can create the navigation bar, and we're just going to use 3 of them: the actual nav bar, and a subgroup, and then a view. If you want to read more about other ones online, just search for Flask Nav elements. We're going to initialize, so we're going to pass the app in, and then we're going to use that nav object that we have to create a new function that will generate our nav bar. I'm going to use a decorator, so nav.navigation. So nav.navigation, and then I'm going to pass in the name of my nav bar. You can call this whatever you want. We're going to use this in the template when we're ready to create the navigation bar. And then I just create a function, call it whatever I want. This function is going to be used to create a nav bar, so I'll just call it create nav bar. At this point, I'm going to create a bunch of views, and view is the word that the Flask Nav uses to describe the links that's going to put into your nav bar. So my first one is going to be something called home, and it's going to refer to the function homepage. So whenever someone clicks on this home link in the nav bar, it's going to take them to this function, which is down here, homepage, and so it's going to render them the template at index.html, and it's going to change the URL in their address bar to just be the slash at the end of the website's name. I'm going to add a few more views right now, so one for each of the different pages. I'll do one for the registration one, view, register. It's going to use the register function. Then another one, the about me view. And I'm using capital letters in the names of the links because I want it to have capital letters when people are looking at it, but I'm typing the name of the function exactly what it looks like in this file. And if you ever forget, just go down and make sure you remember. So this is the about me function right here. Alright, so the class schedule view, I'll create that too. Just a few more, so I've got the top 10 songs view. And then I'm going to create a subgroup. So since there are a lot of pages that we've created that aren't really going to be related to the website, that's the microblog when we're done, like the About Me page, the class schedule, the top 10 songs, I'm going to just put those in a miscellaneous group. So I'll call this the misc subgroup. And it is going to be, instead of a view, it's going to be a subgroup, which is a way that you can take a bunch of views and put them all together, and they will appear as a drop-down menu in the navigation bar. So I'm just going to call this misc. And I'm going to put these on a separate line because there will be a few of them and it will make one really long line. So about me view, we'll also do the class schedule view, schedule view, and then the top 10 songs view. All right, now we're ready to create the nav bar and return it. So I'm going to return a nav bar, and the nav bar is going to have the name of my site, and then it's going to have a home view, the miscellaneous subgroup, and then the register view. So this is going to create a variable called mySiteNavBar that's available in templates. Forgot the colon. But the only way that we can see it is if we go in and reference this mySiteNavBar. So I'm going to go to where my current navigation bar HTML is, and I'm just going to delete everything right here. And now we're going to use the variable is stored in the nav variable, so mySiteNavBar, and then we just have to call the render function, and it will generate all of the HTML that's needed. So let's save that. Let's restart the app, and let's go see if it works. So refresh. Oh, something went wrong. Okay, let's take a look at the error logs. Scroll down to the bottom. And it says from flasknav.element import these things. And it says there's no module named flasknav.element, and I think it is actually called elements with an S. So let's go back, add that, elements, save. Oops, restart. Let's refresh this and see if it works now. It does work. And you'll notice that the nav bar looks different. It's a different color, it's styled differently, and it also has this drop-down menu right here, which is our subgroup, the About Me page, class schedule, top 10. Let's make sure everything works. See, that works. Class schedule, top 10, the register page, still working, home, still working. All right, so everything looks like it's working, so I'm just going to commit my changes for this. So go into the bash console, do a git status, make sure that the only changes are the ones that I'm aware of. So I did change base.html and flaskapp.py. Let me look at specifically what changes I made. That looks like all the stuff that I added. That looks like the stuff I deleted. I just keep hitting spacebar to go down until I've seen everything. Then when I hit the end and everything looks good, I just hit Q to quit this viewer of the differences. And now I'm ready. I'm just going to add all the changes that I've made so that they're ready to be committed. And now I'm going to commit them. We'll just say that I switched to using Flask Nav for the navigation bar. So no longer are we using HTML that I typed out. We're just using Flask Nav. All right, that's the end of this tutorial.